Hey guys. Hey. Well, I suppose I should say happy Valentine's Day, because it is, in fact, Valentine's Day. It's interesting because several times throughout the day today, people actually had to consciously remind me that it was Valentine's Day. Hey, Jalera. And and it's interesting because normally in the past, I would think of nothing but Valentine's Day on Valentine's Day because it would upset me. I would be upset that I was alone all the time. And now, I don't know, I view Valentine's Day much differently than I used to. I view it as a time where I can consciously reflect on how my perception of myself and my self-worth have changed over time in a way because I used to have little to no self-worth and William, remind me of tomorrow. That is discount candy day. Yes. It's good to see you, William. Thank you for joining us. But I've viewed it more as like a self-reflective day because honestly, over the past several years, I've had a very long journey in kind of developing self-love because when you've been bullied a lot and when you have depression, you kind of have this inner bully that has the tendency of I mean, you have the tendency of self-bullying. So, um, that's always fun. Well, so I thankfully have myself a bottle of wine because I think at least if anything on Valentine's Day, one should enjoy a little bit of bubbly. So kudos to my friend, or thanks to my friend Tiffany Cups. She brought this over a couple weeks ago, and I still haven't drank it. So here we go. Oh, what the hell? Might as well fill it up all the fucking way. I mean, all the way. Excuse my French. All right. So Valentine's Day. Mm, 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 mm. Valentine's Day. Okay, so I decide like I'm gonna be doing some reading for you, kind of like I did during my last live stream. I'm gonna read you a journal entry, and then later on during this, I'm going to read you some poems. So speaking of poems, sorry, my hair is driving me crazy right now. It looks horrible. So, speaking of poems, I the other day got three of my poems. Actually, it was yesterday, not the other day. Got three of my poems published in Flypaper magazine, which I'm really excited about and super happy about because it's been probably oh 7 years since I've gotten a poem published. And the reason why I have not gotten a poem published is because I've been a little insecure about putting my stuff out there because I write a lot about insecurity, about masculinity, about being LGBT, being a gay man specifically, and how it's it's not always easy, and people don't often know that there are a lot of problems within the community of gay men. And I try to, with my poetry, draw attention to that type of thing. And but that's I'm gonna do that later. Like that's I'm not gonna do that right now. By the way, I apologize if I'm inarticulate. I mean, there's not really any significant structure to this video because I've been awake since 5 in the morning. I've been working all day, so I'm a little tired. But I wanted to do this because I want to give you the opportunity to spend some time with someone on Valentine's night because I know how it feels to, well, at least from the in the past, I know how it feels to kind of loathe the Valentine's night because everybody's having dinner, everybody's going on dates, everybody's doing other stuff, and I'm normally just sitting home writing sad poetry. Well, this year I've decided to do this instead. And been a year in the past where I have done live streams before during Valen Valentine's night, but I felt that it was important to do it again this year. So, um, William asks, "Do you know of a good site to share poems without too much fear of people stealing your work?" Um, the site that used to use to post poems on a regular basis was DeviantArt. It's an art website that many different people can post on, whether you're like an artist, a poet, fiction writer, anything. I've had people steal my work on there before, but it happens infrequently. And if people do steal your work, DeviantArt is very good with responding to that type of issue. So I would recommend DeviantArt. Other than that, like honestly, I don't post poems there anymore, at least not as frequently, because I'm at a phase in my life where I've been submitting my poems for publication, and some magazines will not accept publication if your poems are posted anywhere. Because if you post it even for free, like on a site like DeviantArt, that still counts as publication, and they will not infringe upon that publication. So I'm very careful and choosy about like where I put my poems now. And actually, it's actually the reason why I'm choosing to read these poems later on during my live stream, because they have been published already now, and I don't really worry about performing them or putting them elsewhere now. So I will post a link in the comment section after my video so you can go see um, or go read these poems and go read the other poems that's a part of this issue of Flypaper Magazine. But okay, so I've been getting off track. I apologize. Hi, Arby. Hi, Tiffany. I love you. So, I'm going to read you guys a journal entry from February 15th, 2011. So, this was probably 7 years ago. I was at the apex of my most depressed when it comes to romance and relationships. And I wanted to share bits and pieces of this entry with you. So, mm, bear with the angst, okay? So, the title is Another Valentine's Day Gone. Well, I managed to get through my 22nd uneventful Valentine's Day. I got to see everybody brag about their happiness, squee over their significant others on Facebook, so on and so forth. The guy that I like and I have been barely talking lately. I wished him a happy Valentine's Day, and he wished me one back, but that's pretty much it. Um, I'm not going to read additional stuff about that individual in question because I really did have feelings for this person, and I go into crazy elaborate detail about it. I like later in this entry, I talk about how my roommates were like spending time with girls, and I was just kind of in my room alone most of that night, just being issue. And then I go on to say, what is the big issue? I simply don't understand and I want to. It's not fair to me in all the slightest. I could never stop thinking today about how I want to give up completely on the hope of loving someone and being loved. I want to feel that burning excitement when staring into someone's eyes, that flirting anticipation before seeing someone special, the never ending sense of completion that makes one push through every day knowing they don't have to do it alone. I want to be able to feel the warmth of someone else's hand in mine for once, or a dance with someone I love. I just want to experience one moment of intimacy. Is that so much to ask for, world? I sit here and watch everyone else get their chance at happiness. I watch as a man and woman is plopped in the lap of an already exuberant people, yet I can't seem to get anything in return after how much positive effort I put into this existence. Um, I go into a little bit of detail about depression. I talk about how all I had at that time was school, and truthfully, I did use school as kind of a crutch. I would use it to avoid feeling, and that was kind of my coping mechanism for getting through all of that loneliness. I would work myself into the ground, I would go to school, I would do both, and it was it was really frustrating, and I'm not saying I don't experience that feeling anymore, it's just I've gotten better at talking myself through that feeling than I used to be, but let me finish the rest of this entry. Um, Basically, sleep is my best friend. It's all I do because it makes time move faster and it helps me not think of this fucking loneliness that never goes away. I can't cry about it anymore. I've exhausted the limited amount of tears I have. It's always there. The loneliness is always stalking me when I least expect it. And whatever reflective surface I stare in, I don't see the Donny Winter everyone else sees. I see an exhausted, bruised, and beaten adolescent being stuffed away in some mislabeled box of misfit toys, shoved in the farthest corner of the darkest cellar at the distant reaches of an empty basement. Sorry. I mean, I laugh about it now, but I know back then I was feeling really horrible, but the way I described it sounds absolutely hilarious. But anyway, so as you can tell, the reason why I shared that entry is because one, I know a lot of people can relate to that feeling. And I do, like I said, have moments where I do experience it, but I've gotten to the point in my life where I don't feel that overwhelming sense of loneliness. In fact, if anything, I feel more solace now in singularity. And and really I think it had a lot to do with recognizing my self-worth. Back then, I always was upset because I felt like I could never attract anyone. I felt disgusting. I felt unappealing in every way. But now that I've kind of acknowledged that, I'm a decently attractive person and that I have my faculties in order. I have my stuff together. I'm relatively successful career-wise. I know that I am worth something, and I've had to talk myself into realizing that I am worth something and that I am capable of being worth some form of effort. So now whenever a guy doesn't make an effort for me, I'm just like, okay, whatever, your loss. And believe me, that mentality is not constant. I, of course, have points of insecurity, but I have gotten to the point where I know who I am. I love who I am. I am proud of the person that I've become. And if another person can't see that, that usually means it's an insecurity that they have about themselves that's preventing them from recognizing another person in that way. Does that make sense? And truthfully, that's what it is all about at the end of the day. It's all about insecurity. And we always have insecurities. I don't think we firmly get rid of insecurities. We just learn how to accept them as part of ourselves. We learn how to talk ourselves through those insecurities. And ultimately, we know how to use those low points in order to help us appreciate the higher points that we experience. Jalera, reading your live journal. That's exactly how I felt too. Yeah. You mentioned being hopeless romantic, and I was going through my journals too. Cat hair flying everywhere. I was going through my journals too, and I remembered just how unbelievably and unwaveringly I was a hopeless romantic. I remember with my first boyfriend that I ever had way back in 2008. Um, I remember writing a poem for him. I wasn't too good at writing poetry back then, but poetry for me was an expression of affection. And in fact, like I used to write poems for guys a lot. Like I remember the first guy that I really ever fell for. Him and I are still friends, thankfully, and we both respect each other so much. But we were so young back then. But I was in love with him. I wrote him volumes of poetry. Things obviously didn't pan out, but damn, did I feel creativity in that moment. I rarely write poems for guys anymore. I wrote one for my immediate, like most recent ex, but that's because I did feel something. Like I did feel affection, and I felt confident enough to write again. But for me, poetry is very personal. If I choose to share poetry with someone, I'm kind of taking a piece of myself, pulling it out of myself, putting it on paper, and giving it to someone else. That is what poetry is. And I think, and I like, even when I'm teaching, I try to get my students to understand what the significance of writing, because writing is an extension of who we are. It doesn't matter what type of writing that you are doing, it's all an extension of ourselves. And that's exactly how I felt back then. Well, I mean, that's how I still feel. I do remember writing that poem back in high school. I do. And Tiffany, I do write songs for guys too sometimes. Although I need to tell you guys, Tiffany Gray wrote a beautiful song called Angels Exist. You need to go check out her channel and go listen to it. It's an original song and it is beautiful. So if I were more capable at singing, I would probably write more songs and perform them for guys. So Tiffany, I really admire that ability, and I just want you to know that you empower me with that very much. And I love you very much for that. Um, you're welcome, honey. Cindy's here. Oh my God. Hi, I love you. Happy Valentine's Day, sweetest. Another amazing channel to check out is Stream of Awareness. Um, check out my friend Jalera's channel, Buttons and Rubbish, please. All of you have great channels. Oh, speaking of channels, one that I wanted to do a shameless plug for tonight. I swear I'm going to do this and then I'll get back to what I'm doing. My friend Samantha, who went to CMU with me way back when, was telling me about uh, how my channel, or like my desire on YouTube to keep doing this has inspired her to keep, um, well, to start doing videos on YouTube. And I wanted to share her channel with you. I'm going to post it in the chat box. She's just beginning at YouTube. I told her that I would share her channel so she could get some exposure. And remember, like, it's very important for me to promote smaller channels too, because I mean, it's very significant that everybody gets a chance, to be seen. So I'm going to share her channel in the chat box if I can find what I did with the damn chat box. Cindy. Okay, here's a link to Samantha's channel. Um, I hope that you give a chance to watch it. From what I'm understanding, it's going to be a channel themed around um, health and wellness, like mental health. So please check that out. I'm really excited to see what she's going to do. Like she was a person when I was at CMU who was there for me when I was at my most depressed, because we would often have very deep conversations, and and in many ways that's one of the few things that kept me going. And I know I've never said that, Sam. If you're watching this, I just want you to know that I love and appreciate you, and I really miss you. I really do. Um, but anyway, back to self-love. Um, it's been a long journey, and I'm not certain that I've even managed to achieve self-love, but I've learned a lot about myself along that journey, and I know that I'm worthwhile. And I guess that's the one message that I want to convey on Valentine's Day because a lot of the time we get discouraged because we feel like we aren't worthwhile, but we are. We're all unique individuals. We all contribute something unique to this world. And just because we may not have a significant other doesn't mean that we aren't vibrant enough to extend love into this world regardless where it's aimed, you know? And see, like, and I guess because I'm usually single on Valentine's Day, it's given me room to appreciate how love manifests itself in other forms. Because we often forget that, love takes on the form of, like, I mean, familial love, friendship love, love of pets, love of your career, love of, everything. And today while I was at school, I was thinking about, because I had like a really difficult conversation earlier today with somebody who basically was like, oh, well, if you have a degree and you're only making so much, you clearly did something wrong. Like, why are you in your career? And I felt really bad about being in my career. But then I looked around and I realized that I love teaching. I love it so much. And I don't care if I'm not rich. I would rather do what I love to do. And see, that's also why I love YouTube because I mean, you know of all that I've been dealing with on YouTube lately with the partnership ridiculousness. Um, but I love doing this to the point where I mean, I don't make money on it and it doesn't matter to me. This isn't I don't want to do this for money. I want to do this because I want to leave something good in this world. Welcome back, Cindy. Um, but I guess the truth is, if you find yourself lonely, discouraged, or depressed on this day, I want you to know that there is one person out there who loves and appreciates you, and that's me. I love and appreciate you for being here in this world. I love and appreciate you for listening. I love and appreciate you for you. I know that doesn't sound like overly um well worded, like, I try to be articulate, but that's how I feel. That's how I feel. Hi, Sean, that's okay, you can always watch later. Um, so, yeah. So, are you guys ready for poetry? I'm feeling like I'm ready to read some poetry here shortly. I don't know how late I'm gonna be up doing this, but I'll stay up for a while and talk to you guys. Alright, so let me explain to you my hat totally, like, messed up my hair. Oh, well. Let me explain to you the importance of poetry to me. So, I've come to realize that people fear poetry because they are not really sure of the meaning that or their interpretation that they should take away from the poetry, but I'm here to honestly tell you that that is the purpose of poetry. It's intended to leave the audience with their own interpretation, okay? And And see, the thing is, with poetry, I can be as honest as I want, but I can also be as cryptic as I want at the same time. This is Barefoot Red Moscato, Cindy. Oh, it's so, so good. Um, oh, it's amazing. Tiffany, my friend Tiffany Cups always has the um, best wine. By the way, if you're on Facebook, check out my friend Tiffany Cups. It's her page, Tiffany Cups Tattoo Artist. My friend is a tattoo artist. She's one of my besties, and she is phenomenal. She is responsible for this tattoo, my shoulder tattoo, and I'm probably going to get other tattoos from her too. Um, Sure, I think that sounds like a great idea. I would love to do that. Cindy says, Marilyn Manson says art is a question mark. When somebody asks what it means, the art is the answer. I love that. That is very beautiful, and I think that's so unbelievably true, for sure. And see, I feel that way about music too. And this is why I idolize, okay, mind you, this is why I idolize Mary Lambert, the spoken word artist and musician, as much as I do, because she has taken music and poetry and put it together in such a beautiful way. And I aspire to do that myself. And I've been kind of doing that on YouTube. Um, if you go and check out my channel, Donny Winter Music, um, you can see that I've been working on music myself and working on song poems. I don't do it as much as I would like because it takes me a while to compose music, but it's a passion of mine and I would love to keep doing it. Um, but I've had people who have been like, Donny, what do your poems mean? And sometimes I will explain because I really have no problem explaining, but there are some times where I think like people need to leave it to their own interpretation. Because the audience in a poetry situation, the audience has more power than they think because they can, take the message in the poem and apply it to their own experiences in some way. So, okay, I'm going to get to reading a poem. To give you a little bit of context, uh, I for my thesis for during my master's degree, I like part of it was theory and analysis, but then I like the rest of my thesis was a collection of poems that I wrote. And I really feel strongly about these poems because throughout many of them, I felt at my lowest. But I needed to feel at my lowest because for me, these poems were healing in some way, and I think that's what poetry should do. It should heal people. So the first poem I'm going to read is titled Coffee Steam Signals, and it was published in the Flypaper magazine, February 2018, second edition. Let me have a drink of wine. Coffee Steam Signals. I catch glimpses of him, sitting in the corner. Ocean basins in his eyes, bottom lip quake. I can tell he is a silent mourner. He squints, eyelid dams refuse to break. He sips his coffee, stares into its black, finds solace in its medicinal vapor, still holding tears back. I want to let him cry on my shoulder, or maybe just hold him a while. Let it out, you know. But we're men. We're made of steel. If it weren't for coffee steam distress signals, nobody would know that we feel. So, so as you can imagine, that poem is largely about um, when men are often discouraged from feeling or expressing emotion. And there was this one day I was at the coffee shop where I worked, and I saw this guy sitting at a table across the room, and he was I could tell he was on the verge of crying. He was just staring into his coffee cup. He kept looking out the window. He was waiting for someone. And I wanted more than anything to go over there and be like, "Hey, it'll be okay." But I knew that if I did that, it would probably make him uncomfortable because in our culture, we are taught to feel uncomfortable. Men are especially when it comes to attention being drawn to our emotions. So that's why I decided to just pick up a pen and paper and be like, I'm going to write about this because I've been that guy before. holding those tears in. I remember when I was a little kid, I got upset over something or I hurt myself, and a family member yelled at me. I think it probably was like an uncle or something yelled at me and was like, "Guys don't cry. Why are you crying? Quit being a pussy." And I went and I hid because I didn't want anybody to see me cry, and I feel so deeply for people who feel as though they can't be open with their emotions. And I really think that men need to be taught that it is okay to express emotions, that it isn't a sign of weakness. And that's one thing that I seek to do with my poetry because, damn it, I have been told my entire life that I'm overdramatic, that I should be stoic and cold and brooding, but that's not me at all whatsoever. I am the exact opposite of those traits, and I would used to force myself to be those traits because I knew that that's the box that everybody wanted to force me in, but at the same time, I knew that, that wasn't me. It wasn't me at all. Cindy. I love you guys. Thank you. I'm glad you liked the poem. Thank you. I don't really do many readings or anything, so although I will say I'm excited that, this weekend I am going to be doing a reading, so probably gonna be more love poems, which means I need to go scavenging through my poems because I have very few love poems, but, um, so are you guys ready for another poem? I have a couple more that I wanna read. Maybe maybe 3 more, but a couple at least. I love you guys. You guys crack me up. Anyway, um, so this next poem is probably one of the most graphic poems that I have written, and it was the first poem I wrote for my thesis manuscript. Um, my thesis was about sexual trauma and how Native communities often will use, especially two spirits, will use poetry to, in a way, draw attention to their trauma and heal from it. I was arguing that poetry was medicine, and I wrote a poem about my experience being sexually assaulted. I'm not like super duper graphic, but um, you can basically get the point. So, and this is the second poem that was published in Flypaper magazine. It's called Manifestations of Gray. Off-white spotlight penetrates colorless curtains, a headlamp for unrehearsed performances on cold December afternoons. My fish belly skin sinks with gray sheets. Four tsunami hands, cold, wash over my thighs, rise up, seize the confused butterflies in my stomach. Misshapen jawlines cut into me. Muscled walls restrain me against dingy bed sheets, surgical table in disguise. Leers scan my entirety, intensified by squirms, silent signs of patient confusion, pain misdiagnosed as enjoyment. Shadow faces on walls, storm heads loom over window light. Cotton cloud mesh reveals me with surgical lamp lucency. I fade with daylight. I envy the gray. Hues bereft of spectral vibrance. No, I am the gray. I am slate, weathered in silence. Sorry, I was just reflecting for a moment. It was a very difficult poem to write, and it's a very difficult poem to read. Now, that's not to say that I'm afraid of talking about what happened, but it's never easy because it brings you back there. But thankfully, after I was sexually assaulted, I got counseling, and and that helped a lot. I love you, Cindy. Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Cindy was one of the first people I told about my experience. I just like it's interesting because I think one of my only friends back then was you, Cindy, and I know I would not be here without you. I love I love you. Um, so yeah, um, I'll do, another poem, the other one that was published in Flypaper magazine. Um, this one is a little bit more sassy. Like, I mean, you know that I have an appreciation for sass, and this poem was one that I wrote with that thought in mind. It's called, Too Young for an Old Soul. One of my biggest pet peeves in my life is I really hate being talked down to like I'm a child. Like when people talk to me like I don't know what I'm doing or that I'm like being stupid or childish, it immediately angers me. And I've been treated like that my entire life, not just by friends sometimes, but by family, by colleagues. And And I hate it. Like, it's like, I'm an adult. Treat me like an adult. But, when you express yourself emotionally as a man, people often talk down to you like you're a teenage boy who's angsty and annoying. So I decided to do a poem about this subject. And here it is. Too young for an old soul. Drink of wine first. This morning I looked in the mirror and smiled. A crow's foot formed, maybe a rite of passage. I'm a big kid now. Maybe I should squint more, make those lines deeper. They smile, chuckle at my stories when I say I understand. Their eyes protest, prod my arrogant youth. I can't possibly experience these things and be this young. My slightly more religious grandmother would always say, quote, children should be seen and not heard, end quote. Either when I'd talk with adults or be treated like one. After all, it's dangerous for children to have adult ideas. So break them down, teach them silence. My ex-boyfriend, older than me, scolded me, quote, think about the consequences of your actions, end quote. I'm only a smart-assed 27-year-old. Don't worry, I'll shut up now. It's okay. I know kiddo is my real name. So as you can imagine, I was very salty during that exchange. I did date this guy like when I was in Missouri who like always was very toxic masculinity, very um dismissive of people's emotions. I really had feelings for him, but he would continually knock me down. He would continually be emotionally manipulative in a way, and he would talk to me like I was a kid, and that brought back so much that angered me. Like I didn't like I was tired of it, so I was like, you know what? Fine, I'm gonna write a poem about that. Um, but And sometimes and that's the beauty of poetry because it can, be a very important outlet for you. Um, I love you guys. I'm glad you liked the poems. Um, it's an excellent outlet, for sure. Um, I'm gonna read one more. Why not? Just one more, and then we'll talk a little bit more. Um, this one has not been published yet, but it probably will be. I'm hoping it will be. Let's see. Where is it? Okay, this is a love-related poem, kind of a bittersweet poem. So, one thing that would always anger me beyond all comprehension is sometimes I would have people in my life who would be clearly showing PDA, like public displays of affection in front of me, and then they'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. You'll don't worry, Donny, you'll find that too. You'll find love. Like it'll be great." And I'm kind of just like, "Why are you even telling me this? You don't even need to validate that. Like, come on, like I'm broken and pining. Like I may have been in the past, but I'm fine now. Like, and you drawing attention to that is honestly the thing that made me feel worse. So I decided to write a poem about that. Um, and it's probably one of the most important poems for me that I've written, one of the most healing poems. So I'm gonna read it to you. Oh, Jalera, thank you. I'm glad that you were listening to me while doing art. That's very sweet. I know, right, Tiffany? Oh, RB, thank you for saying that. Um, okay, so I have cat hair in my wine, but I don't care. Campfire. Quote, I want you to find someone too, end quote. My best friend says as she clutches her boyfriend. Quote, I want you to be happy, end quote. I'm fine. I'm happy. The campfire spits pine pitch louder than compliments. Smoke wafts through naked boughs. Billow walls hide me from their eyes, a sweeter smell than roses. Then I realize they were busy. Puppy kisses are distracting. Strained lip corners tolerate the happiness she wishes upon me. I'll always appreciate word kindling, but some campfire attempts never ignite. Let me hide charred scars beneath leaf rot and tell myself I'm all right. Yeah. I wasn't upset at my friend or anything, mind you, for for making that comment. Um, but I remember a long time ago, I would always be kind of like third or fifth wheel, and I would always have to sit and listen to people or watch people do public displays of affection. And I would kind of just like exist. I kind of wanted to disappear. I kind of wanted to be invisible. Like, oh my God. Um, I didn't feel that in that moment until something was said like that. And I kind of was just like, I knew you felt this way in the past because I always used to go on and on about being sad and depressed about being alone. But just because I'm not with someone now doesn't mean that now I'm feeling that way. Does that make sense? But okay, I'm done reading poems. I've read what, four poems, so um maybe I'll read more in the future. So shameless self plug. Um, if you have not checked out my other YouTube channels, I would really appreciate it if you did. because they, I mean, this is my main channel. I have the most subscribers on here, but on those channels, I have very few subscribers because I don't really post on them as much. But my channel, Donny Speaks, is kind of like my casual, like, poetry channel. I usually will post poems that I'm not super serious about, but they usually are ones that are kind of reflective of my feelings at the moment. It's called Donny Speaks. And then, of course, my Donny Winter Music channel, which um, is the channel that I created about a couple years ago that I'm dedicating to music, a little over a year ago, actually, not a couple years ago, that I am dedicating entirely to music and song poems. So please check both of those out. And I appreciate you supporting me across all of these different platforms. So, um, but anyway, so I think the one thing that's kind of had me feeling a little morose lately is the situation with YouTube. Um, I have 6 days left of having a YouTube partnership, and I'm kind of gearing myself, mentally preparing myself to lose my YouTube partnership. And I'm going to still keep doing what I do, and I'm going to do it with the same amount of passion that I've always done it. But it's really made me lose so much trust in YouTube. And the fact that, other than filling out a survey that they sent me, I've not heard anything from them. And I've not really heard anything from big YouTubers yet. It's sad because there was a time on YouTube a long time ago, I remember, where people really went out of their way to support each other, especially content creators. And now that has, like, because there's so much oversaturation of comedy and gaming and things like that, that's kind of fallen by the wayside. And the days of the confessional YouTuber have kind of fallen by the wayside. And I suppose, like, in the past, I've labeled myself an LGBTQ activist and an anti-bullying advocate, and I still label myself as those things, but ultimately, I would consider myself a confessional YouTuber. And what that means is that I storytell, I tell life experiences, and I confess the deepest parts of me, usually without fear, sometimes with fear. And I don't feel like that happens often anymore. Of course, few of the YouTubers that are closest to me, like my friend Cindy, Stream of Awareness, my friend Tiffany and her channel, Tiffany Gray Diary, and of course, Educating Shani, I would consider all of us confessional YouTubers because you guys do confess a lot and tell experiences and share stories. So, like, I really feel like we've kind of created our own little network of confessional YouTubers. And I think maybe that's what we need to do, is just keep supporting each other. Because I know I'm always getting followers from you, from Tiffany's YouTube, from Cindy's YouTube, from Shani's YouTube, and I know that they've gotten followers from me, and we've all kind of grown together in this network, and I think that's very valuable. Um, a mass 24-hour playlist. I don't know. I'm not sure. Um, so Jalera asked this question, like if a mass 24-hour playlist would help get me close. The thing is, over the past month, my views and my subscribers and everything have gone up a bit. But I've accumulated only about 300 watch hours, 300 to 500 watch hours, and 4,000 is the threshold. I'm barely at 2,000 right now. So there would be I don't think there's any feasible way for me to get to 4,000 between now and February 20th. Now, by the end of the year, I might be able to if things keep progressing. Um, Cindy says maybe people don't want to think, they just want a cheap laugh. It's not like nobody wants to go in deep anymore. I think that's true. Nobody wants to have deep conversation, and I think that's really kind of sad. Like, I really feel like people should value deep conversation. Um, but Honestly, like, if you're still wanting to help me, and of course, believe me, I appreciate it so much. The best way you can help me is by continuing to watch, support, share, subscribe, like my videos, things like that. Because, I mean, clearly the only thing that speaks to YouTube is numbers, and doing every small little thing like that helps. Um, Sharing it with other people especially helps. Like YouTube channels don't really get out there unless word of mouth gets them or another YouTuber shares their stuff. Um, so I'm hoping that maybe at some point, um, I will connect with a larger YouTuber and they'll find what I say insightful. Like maybe they'll share my stuff. If not, I'll keep doing what I do because I do love the community that I've created here. Um, but Cindy dance with nipple tassels for views. Honestly, that probably would do the trick. I mean, if you're not, filming suicide victims in suicide forests, I suppose dancing around with nipple tassels is the way to go. At least I'm not, insulting an entire culture and being horrible about a deceased person. Oh, I clearly wasn't trying to be salty about Logan Paul at all. Anyway, but I love being salty. Well, being salty is one of my favorite pastimes. Um, yeah. Oh, my friends. This has been a very, like, I think I've almost been live streaming for an hour. It's been a long time since I've live streamed for an hour. I think it's been since, oh God, Donald Trump's election, since I live streamed for an hour. Um, but I think I might do this more. Do you guys like it when I live stream? Do you think I should live stream more? What do you guys think? I want to know your honest answers about that. See, normally I prefer doing like more crafted videos where I have time to prepare and think. But if you do enjoy me doing this, I would be happy to do it because sometimes it's just good to, have random conversation. Sorry, Cindy, that made me die. I swear I am in command of my faculties. I've only had half a glass of wine. I swear. Um, Sorry. I'm still laughing over what Cindy said. Anyway, I've been I know I've mentioned this before. Not to get all serious all of a sudden. Cindy said Donald Butt Trumpet, by the way. Anyway, I know I've told you guys this before, but even though I've come to a point in my life where I know how to talk myself through depression, I am depressed often. And it's just something that I've accepted that I'm going to struggle with probably for the rest of my life. And I have no problem talking myself through it. But I frequently have suicidal thoughts still, but because of the therapy I've received, I know how to again talk through those too. But just now, in having this conversation with you guys, it makes me think about how happy I am to be here still, and how I will continue to be here still. And if you've ever suffered from suicidal thoughts or inclinations, you would understand that sometimes you have to keep talking yourself through it, keep encouraging yourself, keep finding a reason to hold on. And I know I've mentioned this a million times in other videos, but I mean, a long time ago, my friend Cindy told me this. when I was feeling really depressed. Remember all the reasons why you've held on this long and use those reasons to keep holding on. I tell myself that whenever I have those thoughts. And we've done that for each other a lot, Cindy. And I know Tiffany and I have done that for each other a lot too. I think the important message here, and I think a lot of people could benefit from this also, is that we need to be here for each other. We need to be cognizant of people's mentalities. We need to be honest with people about our feelings too. And I think in doing that, people will survive. And the thing is, there are so many people that have depression. It's just people don't don't acknowledge it. That's why I'm so adamant about talking about mental health here, especially for men, because it's so under-discussed among men. Because again, it comes back to the we're supposed to be these brooding, unfeeling, tough guys, these fighters. Did Well, dear culture, did it ever occur to the people most powerful that maybe if we spent less time trying to paint ourselves as fighters and spent more time painting ourselves as feelers or expressors or artists ourselves, maybe we would be healthier on a mental level, because I firmly believe that a lot of America is very mentally unhealthy because of all the toxic stigmas and stereotypes and expectations. You're right, Cindy. Depression is very much like a fog, for sure. Constantly a fog. One of my least favorite things about depression. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep blabbing. Why not? So when it comes to depression, probably one of the most vital escapes for me, and I know I talked about this during my disempowering depression series, but one of my most significant escapes would be sleep. And normally, if I'm depressed and I go to bed and I wake up, I feel refreshed. But sometimes, like, these are the worst days, I will go to bed depressed, hope that I'll wake up feeling fine, but end up being just as depressed upon waking. And that usually sets the tone for my entire day. Now, sometimes I will feel better because working at school makes me happier, or writing or whatever, talking to friends or family, or even YouTube. Those will make me happy. But sometimes, like, I will just go through the whole next day feeling depressed, and usually those are the days where I'm very susceptible to having suicidal thoughts too. Like, sometimes even the slightest thing or the slightest comment from people will make me think those thoughts, and then I'll like stop myself and be like, Donnie, holy shit, like that one comment made you have that thought. And then immediately I go into this kind of interview in my mind where I ask myself, okay, where is that insecurity coming from? Why did that give you that reaction? What can you do to move past that? Or what can you do to own it? Sometimes I will think of it as what do you do to fortify yourself? Okay. And usually that helps me quite a bit. So this is this has been quite a random live stream. I've been talking about everything. So, but whew, I am enjoying it. It's been therapeutic. Mm, Tiffany, I want fluffy sweater hugs too. Oh, Cindy, I know, right? See, the thing is about rainy day, like even Like, I will be almost as depressed on sunny days as I am on rainy days. It's interesting because most people will associate sunshine with happiness, but really it's not that way for me all the time. So, do you guys have anything you want me to talk about? Do you have any questions? I've never, I don't think in my entire time on YouTube I've ever done a Q&A. I'll give you guys a few minutes if you want to ask me questions. Guilt and shame are very, yeah, is very different. People don't realize that. Shame is guilt on steroids. And see, the thing is, a lot of people will shame others and not be cognizant of the fact that they are shaming others. And I think that lack of cognizance on those people's parts, that's um, what causes a lot of people to mentally suffer. Now, keep in mind, though, I do think it is important for people with depression to be honest about their depression and to be honest about what bothers them on their um like on their own time when they feel like they can. um but I think that I really think that people should be aware of how their words may affect people, and I think that depressed people need to be aware that sometimes their depression can also project, like Cindy just said, project. Okay, so Tiffany asks, maybe talk about that Susie who made that video. There was a girl who made a video about the YouTube partnership program, and I'd have to watch it again. I watched it quickly, but I really disagreed with what she said. She was very, very opposite of what I've been saying about the YouTube partnership program situation. So, whatever. Like, if she thinks that, she can, go on enjoying having that mentality. Um, Jalera asks, if you were a tarot card, which one would you be? That's a really hard question to answer. I would say that I would probably either be the hermit for obvious reasons, because I feel like I don't know, I associate the hermit with reflection a lot and introspection and kind of removing himself in order to better himself, and I try to do that a lot. I would either be that or I would be the hermit or hmm. Oh, there was another one I was gonna say. What was it? Temperance. I really associate temperance with wisdom very much. And I don't think I've said this before, but my goal in life is to be wise, to be as wise as my grandma was, to be as wise as many of the friends and family that I love and respect, and be as wise as like some of my favorite artists like Gaga and Mary and Linkin Park and Amy Lee and stuff like that. Evanescence, not just Amy Lee, Evanescence as a whole. I strive to be wise. I strive to be wise. Cindy asks, have you ever started a poem in one mood and finished it in another? Actually, that's a very good question. The poem Campfire that I just read, I started it out feeling very depressed. And then I ended the poem being like, "Whatever." Like, it was those are completely 2 different mentalities for me. I think sappy, like, sad depression kind of transitioned into apathetic depression, and that's normally, I don't have that transition in one sitting, so that was very interesting. But I have done that. Like, I have started out poems on a sad note, I've ended them on a happy note, so on and so forth. Hello, Karth. Hello, Drago Vox. Welcome, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad to see you. Yeah, and I knew you could definitely relate to it, Tiffany, and I'm sure, Cindy, you felt that way too about writing and music and stuff like that. You like, sometimes it's just such an outpouring of emotions that you kind of can't gauge where those emotions are going to take you. I know, especially when I would write Godzilla fan fiction, that I would always like, I would try to make the characters multi-layered and make them very much equivalent to, like, real life people, including myself. If that isn't Mary Sue, I don't know what is. In fact, funny thing about Mary Sue's, for those of you who don't know what a Mary Sue is a situation or a character that you put into a piece of fiction where you were basically that character. So I would always do that. But I wrote a poem actually titled Mary Sue, and it's about Godzilla fan fiction. That is one that I really hope gets published because that's probably one of the poems that I am most proud of. I might read it on here sometime, who knows. But of course, any poem that involves Godzilla is going to make me happy. Um, oh, Cindy, your iridescent cover. When I've been down, I've actually gone and listened to that cover. Ooh, Tiffany, that sounds interesting. The song Girl in the Mirror. I can't wait to hear it. And see, I figured, Jalera, you probably felt that way with art pieces and things like that too. Oh, I am a nerd. I am so a nerd. In fact, oh my God, I feel ridiculous because I still have to do a video review of the animated Godzilla film. I've been planning on doing that. I wish I could articulate to you guys how hard it is for me to not make a million videos about the things I'm nerdy about, like Godzilla, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek. Like, I could make videos about them all the time, and I appreciate you guys bearing with all of my gay reactions to Star Trek Discovery videos. It's so important to me, and I appreciate that you guys care about the things that I care about, or at least try to. Like, that means a lot to me. Jalera, I do want to make them. One of my big goals is to do movie reviews of Godzilla films and to also talk about deeper metaphorical meanings in the different creatures. And I also, you guys probably remember my site, Kaiju Galaxy, that was my Godzilla website. It's still very much important to me. I miss it being active so much. And we people still venture there now and again, but it used to be actually one of the most popular Godzilla websites. Um, like, probably the second or third most popular at a time. But I really, like, my goal is to create a new website for it and to get people submitting fan fiction, fan art, and fan poetry. Like, I want to use it as like a publicatory medium for these people. I don't think publicatory is a word, but I just made a new word, so yay for me. Um, Tiffany, I should do more Celtic Woman related videos. I love Celtic Woman. I miss listening to them. I was just listening to Orla the other day. Of course, she's my fave. I love her so much. Shout out to Orla if you ever get to watch any of my videos. Um, I really want to write more fan fiction too. I don't know. This year, I feel more confident about writing, and I'm gonna make more time to do it. And I have. Like, the other day, I told you guys in the last live stream, my last episode of the Monday Life of a Gay, that I was reading this chat book of poetry, and I immediately started writing because it inspired me so much. So I think I'm gonna start doing that again. Like, I just sometimes in order to be inspired, you have to do more reading or look at people's art or, all of that jazz. So, oh my goodness, it's almost getting close to 11 o'clock. I'm probably gonna have to go soon because I have to get up super early. But, I have so much cat hair in my wine, but I still don't care. My friends, I love you guys, and I appreciate you being here. Oh, Draco Vox, I would love to read some of your Godzilla fan fiction. You can find my email in the comment section below. You should email them to me or at least send me links to them. Or if you want, you can join Kaiju Galaxy and help us get it up and running again. But William, cat hair wine, right? Um Tiffany, are you kidding me right now? Oh my god, that's too punny. It was a perfect pun. But anyway, I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys watching me talk for an hour and 10 minutes. That's some dedication. That's some major dedication. Oh my god, I've not watched the original Mothra movie in so long, Jalera. I need to do that soon. I need to actually watch the Mothra trilogy again. I have them on Blu-ray. But, oh my god, my wine must be taking effect because I'm getting a little bit random. Oh, yeah. Oh my god. Drago. Okay, I do remember. Oh my god. I didn't, match up the usernames. I didn't realize that. Well, I remember you very fondly. I'm glad that you're part of that community too, of Kaiju Galaxy. Yay! That makes me so happy that I have some people who were on Kaiju Galaxy who still connect with me in some way. That makes me very elated. William, oh. He asked, "Could you do more long-form live streams? I enjoyed this one, and listening to you read your poems inspired me to do writing tonight." That's oh my god, you have no idea how much that means to me to hear. I would love to do more long live streams, for sure. I'm enjoying this much more than I thought I would, honestly, so I did flap. In fact, I'm actually kind of, like, sitting here and, like, twisting this. As sad as I get sometimes, I am really happy to be alive. Okay, I've clearly had a lot of wine, I'm kind of getting emotional. Oh, wait, what else is new? Donnie, stop using wine as an excuse to be or as an excuse to avoid admitting that you just are emotional. See, society teaches us to do that, though, to kind of Chalera, sorry, that was really funny. Holy nipple. Okay. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna stop yammering on, and I'm gonna start being a little bit more structured. Um, thank you guys for taking the time to be here with me tonight. Thank you for following me and always being here for me. It means a lot. And I appreciate all the efforts that you've made in helping support me, especially during these difficult times with YouTube being the way it is. If you choose to continue supporting that way, thank you. Continue sharing videos on Twitter, continue using the hashtag small channels, big voices, and small YouTuber army. Sharing is extremely significant. I cannot emphasize that enough because that is how other people see these things. So anyway, I'm probably gonna oh, thank you all for being you and thank you all for existing too. I adore you guys. So I'm gonna head off to bed. I got a long day tomorrow, but just know that on this Valentine's night, you have someone out there who loves and appreciates you, and I always will. You guys have a good night, sweet dreams, and I will see you very soon.